Have you ever stopped in the middle of a completely ordinary day and felt something you cannot quite name? Not sadness, not exactly exhaustion, just a familiar emptiness that shows up like a quiet weight. The feeling that time is moving fast, but your life is not moving forward at the same speed. You still wake up every morning. You still go to work. You still handle what you have to handle. You stay busy. You keep going. You do what people expect you to do. But somewhere inside you, a question keeps repeating like a soft echo that never leaves. If I keep living like this, where will my life be a few years from now? Some days you tell yourself you are still young and you still have time. Sometimes you comfort yourself by saying, everyone lives like this. You look around and it seems normal. People scroll, people rush, people complain, people chase small urgencies, people postpone big dreams. And because it looks common, you start calling it acceptable. But then night comes. The noise fades, the lights dim, the world gets quieter. And when there is nothing left to distract you, you cannot run from the truth. Time does not stand still. Every day that passes is a piece of your life you will never get back. And the scariest thing is not failure. The scariest thing is waking up one day and realizing you lived for a long time, but you did not truly live. You existed. You survived. You stayed safe. You stayed functional. But you never stepped into the life you knew you were capable of. A lot of people think their enemy is the world, a weak starting point, unfair conditions, other people being more talented, a lack of support, a lack of opportunity, a lack of luck. But if you are honest enough, you will see the biggest enemy was never outside. It lives right inside you. It is the version of you that chooses comfort instead of discipline. The version of you that chooses procrastination instead of action. The version of you that knows you could be better but still accepts living at a level that is just enough to get through the day. And I want you to notice something. That enemy is not loud. It does not scream. It does not attack you all at once. It whispers. It negotiates. It tells you 10 more minutes will not matter. It tells you tomorrow will be easier. It tells you next week you will be serious. It tells you once things calm down, you will start. It tells you you deserve a break before you have even earned it. And because the cost is not immediate, you believe it. You believe it because nothing collapses right away. Your life still looks fine. You still pay bills. You still smile in photos. You still show up to work. You still function. And that is exactly why wasting your life is so dangerous. It does not arrive like a disaster. It arrives like normal. Today, I am not here to talk to you about success in the shiny sense. I am not here to talk about money, fame, or fairy tales. I want to talk about something more fundamental. Do not waste your life. Not through massive mistakes, but through days that pass quietly, safely, smoothly, and yet meaninglessly. Because nobody wakes up one morning and decides to waste an entire life. People waste it little by refusing to face themselves. And if you listen closely, you already know this. You know when you are avoiding what matters. You know when you are delaying something important. You know when you are trading your future for comfort. You know when you are lowering your standards to make life easier. You know when you are staying in a place that no longer fits you. You know when you are shrinking your dreams so you do not have to confront your fear. Nobody has to tell you. The proof is in that quiet feeling you get when the day ends and you realize you did a lot, but you did not move forward. Conquering yourself is not about defeating anyone else. It is the quietest battle, the longest battle, and the most important one. It is the battle between who you are right now and who you know you could become. And the weapon in that battle is not luck. It is not temporary motivation. It is discipline, perseverance, and self-control. 3 simple words that draw the line between a life fully lived and a life that slips away into regret. This is what I mean when I say, do not waste your life. I do not mean you have to be famous. I do not mean you have to build something big for the world to applaud. I mean, do not betray yourself. Do not abandon your potential. Do not let your days become a blur of comfort and distraction until the years pass and you cannot remember what you did with them. Your time is your life, and you spend time whether you are aware of it or not. You spend it on what matters, or you spend it on what is easy. There is no neutral choice. Either you are moving forward or you are sliding backward, even if you do not notice it. Here is a hard truth. Not everyone fails because they are incapable. Many people fail because they never use their full capacity. They live below their potential. They get used to delaying their dreams, used to saying later, used to waiting for the perfect time that never comes. And year after year, life closes in, not with a loud collapse, but with silence. The silence of opportunities that expire, the silence of energy that fades, the silence of confidence that erodes, the silence of becoming comfortable with less than what you once wanted. Conquering yourself begins the moment you dare to face the truth that no one is coming to rescue you from a wasted life. No one can live for you. No one can take responsibility for you. And if you do not stand up and change, it is not because you cannot. It is because you chose not to. That choice is not dramatic. It often looks like nothing happened, but its consequences last a lifetime. Jim Rohn said we all must suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. And when you really sit with that truth, something inside you starts to shift. Because you realize this is not about talent. It is not about intelligence. It is not about luck. It is about choice. Daily choice. Quiet choice. The kind of choice no one applauds and no one sees. The choice to do what matters when it would be easier not to. The choice to keep a promise to yourself when breaking it would have no immediate consequence. The choice to face discomfort instead of escaping it. And that is where discipline enters the picture. Discipline is often misunderstood. People think discipline is punishment. They think it is harsh. They think it steals joy and freedom. But discipline is not what traps you. Discipline is what frees you. Because without discipline, you are not free. You are reactive. You are controlled by mood, by circumstance, by distraction, by comfort. You wake up and do what feels easiest. You work when you feel motivated. You rest when you feel tired. You quit when it feels uncomfortable. And that may feel like freedom in the moment, but over time it becomes a cage built from small choices that slowly shrink your life. Discipline breaks that cage. Discipline says, I decide in advance what matters, and I act on that decision regardless of how I feel in the moment. That is real freedom. Freedom from being pulled in every direction by emotion. Freedom from negotiating with yourself every single day. Freedom from waking up with regret because you know you did not run from yourself yesterday. Discipline is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters first. Bryant Tracy said, success is the ability to make yourself do the things you should do even when you do not feel like doing them. Not because you hate yourself, but because you respect your future. And that respect shows up in small moments. The moment you get out of bed when you said you would. The moment you start the hard task before checking your phone. The moment you finish what you started even when no one is watching. Every time you do that, you send yourself a powerful message. I am someone I can trust. I do not abandon myself. And trust in yourself is the foundation of confidence. Confidence does not come from praise. It comes from evidence. Evidence that you show up. Evidence that you keep your word. Evidence that you do not disappear when things get uncomfortable. Without discipline, dreams stay imaginary. They stay safe because they are never tested. They stay beautiful because they are never challenged. But they also stay useless because dreams that never meet discipline never become real. Without discipline, every goal becomes just a sentence you repeat to make yourself feel better about not acting. And over time, that gap between what you say you want and how you live becomes painful. That pain is not dramatic. It is dull. It is heavy. It sits in your chest when you are alone. It shows up as frustration, irritability, envy, numbness. You see other people moving forward and you tell yourself stories about why they are different. But deep down you know the truth. They did not wait. They did not negotiate endlessly. They acted when it was inconvenient. Discipline is not about intensity. It is about consistency. Anyone can push hard for a week. Anyone can feel inspired after a video or a speech. Discipline is showing up when inspiration is gone, when the work feels boring, when progress feels invisible, when the day looks exactly like yesterday. That is where most people stop, not because they cannot continue, but because they expected it to feel different. They expected growth to feel exciting. But real growth feels repetitive. It feels ordinary. It feels like doing the same right thing again and again without immediate reward. That is why discipline filters people out. Not because it is impossible, but because it is unglamorous. And the people who embrace that unglamorous repetition are the ones who quietly build a life that means something. Perseverance is what keeps discipline alive over time. Perseverance is not blind suffering. Perseverance is staying with the process long enough for it to work. Many people quit not because they lack ability, but because they lack patience. They plant a seed today and walk away tomorrow, then decide the seed had no value. But life does not move at the speed of impatience. Results lag behind effort. Growth hides before it reveals itself. There will be long stretches where nothing seems to change. You wake up, you do the work, you go to sleep, and the next day looks the same. This is where doubt creeps in. This is where people start asking, am I wasting my time? This is where they compare themselves to others. This is where they stop, because stopping feels safer than continuing without certainty. Perseverance says I stay anyway, even when I do not see it yet, even when no one notices, even when it feels slow. Perseverance is a decision renewed every day. The decision that one hard day does not erase a long journey. The decision that one setback does not define the path. The decision that I do not quit simply because it is uncomfortable. Kobe Bryant did not become a legend because of highlight moments. He became a legend because he refused to live below his own standard. There were mornings he trained before the city woke up. No applause, no recognition, just repetition. He understood something most people avoid. If you allow yourself to be soft when it does not matter, you will pay for it when it does. Life works the same way. The moments no one sees are the moments that decide who you become. Perseverance is choosing to respect those moments, to show up fully even when there is no reward attached yet. Self-control is what protects both discipline and perseverance from being destroyed by emotion. People do not fail because they do not know what to do. They fail because they allow temporary emotion to decide long-term action. A bad day turns into a week of neglect. One wave of discouragement turns into a month of delay. One mistake turns into a reason to quit. Without self-control, emotions become the driver of your life, and emotions change faster than the weather. Self-control is not about suppressing feeling. It is about not letting feeling hijack direction. It is the ability to say this emotion is real, but it does not get to decide for me. It is the ability to pause instead of react, to choose response over impulse. Will Smith once said that if you and he were running on a treadmill, there are only two outcomes. Either you jump off first, or he dies on it. That story is not about talent. It is about endurance. It is about refusing to negotiate when things get uncomfortable. He does not believe he is the most gifted. He believes he can endure discomfort longer than most, and that endurance is what creates the difference. Self-control keeps you from sabotaging yourself in moments of weakness. It keeps you from undoing months of effort because of one emotional decision. It keeps you stable, and stability is underrated. Stability is what allows you to build something over time. When you train discipline, perseverance, and self-control together, you are not just improving performance. You are protecting your life from being wasted. You are telling yourself that your time matters, that your days matter, that your future matters enough to be uncomfortable today. And that is the moment your life stops drifting and starts moving with intention. There is a point on this path where things stop feeling motivational and start feeling personal, where you are no longer listening to ideas, but confronting yourself. Because once you understand discipline, perseverance, and self-control, you cannot unsee the moments where you choose against them. You start noticing how often you escape instead of engage, how often you delay instead of decide, how often you lower the standard instead of raising yourself to meet it. And that awareness can be uncomfortable. But discomfort is not a sign you are failing. It is a sign you are waking up. Most people do not ruin their lives through one dramatic decision. They ruin them through tiny decisions repeated every day. Choosing 10 more minutes of sleep, pushing the important task to tomorrow, choosing comfort over discipline. Each decision alone feels harmless, almost invisible, but stack them over months and years, and they create a massive gap between who you are and who you once hoped to become. That gap is where regret lives. Not loud regret, quiet regret. The kind that shows up when you see someone else living with courage and you wonder why you didn't. The kind that surfaces when you realize how much time you traded for distraction. Here is something many people avoid admitting. Most of the pain in life does not come from trying too hard. It comes from knowing you could do better and still not doing it. Nothing erodes self-respect more than betraying your own potential. You can survive failure. You can survive hardship. You can survive being misunderstood. But it is very hard to live with the feeling that you quit on yourself before life even had a chance to test you. That feeling does not disappear. It lingers. It follows you. It colors how you see yourself. And over time, it becomes identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who does not finish, someone who does not follow through, someone who talks more than they act. That identity is built quietly, and it can also be dismantled quietly. One kept promise at a time. Discipline shows up right at that intersection, not as punishment, but as a boundary. Discipline says there are things that must be done, whether you feel like it or not. There are mornings you must get up even when sleep feels unfinished. There are days you must continue even when results are invisible. And those unseen moments are exactly what determines whether you are building a life with weight or merely existing. Jim Rohn said, "Success is doing the small things that are easy to ignore with discipline every day." There is no spotlight there, no rush, no lasting excitement, just repetition. But repetition creates identity. You do not become disciplined by talking about discipline. You become disciplined by acting disciplined, even when motivation is absent. Bryant and Tracy emphasized that you can change your life by changing how you use every hour of your day. Not by doing more, but by doing the most important things first. When you procrastinate on the important things, you send yourself a dangerous message. My dreams can wait. My future is not urgent. And over time, you begin to believe that message. You begin to treat your own goals as optional. And when your goals become optional, your life becomes accidental. You drift instead of build. You react instead of create. You live at the mercy of circumstance instead of intention. Perseverance is what keeps you on the path long enough for results to have a chance to appear. Many people underestimate the power of simply not quitting. They look at other people's outcomes and assume it is talent. They do not see the long chain of boring, repetitive, unnoticed days. They do not see the evenings when someone kept working while every reason to stop was available. They do not see the mornings when progress felt non-existent, but effort continued anyway. Kobe Bryant did not become who he was because of what he did when the cameras were on. He became who he was because of what he did when no one was watching. He trained in the dark. He trained before the city woke up. Not because it was fun, but because he refused to accept a version of himself that was average. Perseverance is not a feeling. It is a decision renewed every single day. A decision that even if today shows no visible progress, I do not quit. A decision that I do not let one hard day ruin a long journey. And those silent decisions create a massive distance between those who finish and those who stop halfway. Life does not reward the fastest starter. It rewards the one who stays, who remains, who does not leave the process just because it stopped feeling good. Self-control is the final piece and the hardest one. Self-control is not controlling everything. It is controlling your response. It is not allowing a temporary emotion to destroy what you have built over a long time. A bad day is not allowed to ruin an entire week. One stumble is not allowed to end an entire journey. People without self-control live emotionally. They act based on mood. And mood is unstable. Mood is influenced by sleep, by stress, by comparison, by comfort, by fear. When mood is in charge, direction disappears. Will Smith once said, he does not see himself as the most talented person. He believes he can work harder than most. And that does not come from inspiration. It comes from refusing to negotiate with what he has decided. When he chooses to do something, he does not ask if today feels right. He does not wait for motivation. He acts. And that refusal to negotiate protects him from sabotaging himself. Self-control is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It keeps your life moving forward when emotions try to pull you sideways. Wasting your life often starts gently. It starts with letting emotions decide your schedule. It starts with letting tiredness justify delay. It starts with saying you will get serious next week, next month, at some point in the future. But that future has no date. And what has no date rarely ever happens. When you build self-control, you do not become cold. You become stable. You are no longer dragged around by small swings. You do not allow one bad moment to define you. And that stability becomes a foundation strong enough to build a meaningful life on. Many people wait for a special moment to change, a shock, a crisis, a wake-up call. But life rarely gives signals that clearly. Life simply flows. And if you do not change deliberately, you will drift with it. Not because you are weak, but because you became comfortable letting today decide tomorrow. That is how time disappears, quietly, respectfully, without asking permission. Do not waste your life is not a dramatic warning, it is a practical reminder. Every day you live is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every habit you keep or drop is shaping your future. There is no neutral choice. Either you are moving forward or you are sliding backward, even if it feels like you are standing still. And one day standing still becomes falling behind. There is a moment in every person's life, whether they recognize it or not, when they understand time is no longer on their side. Not because they are old, not because opportunity is gone, but because they realize that if they do not change how they live, their future is being written automatically by old habits and familiar softness. And the scariest thing is not a hard life. It is a life that passes quietly, leaving no mark you can be proud of. Many people confuse living comfortably with living meaningfully. They avoid risk, avoid failure, avoid pain, and call it safety. But the cost of that safety is a life that never gets tested, never gets explored, never uses its full potential. You do not know how strong you are until you are forced to become strong. And you do not know how far you can go if you keep stopping at the point that feels just comfortable enough to avoid discomfort. Wasting your life is not about lacking money or status. Many people have both and still waste their life. Wasting is knowing you could live differently, but choosing not to. Knowing you could be more serious with yourself, but compromising. Knowing time is limited, but treating it as infinite. And every time you do that, you reduce the value of who you are becoming. And this is where everything comes together. Discipline keeps you moving. Perseverance keeps you going. Self-control keeps you aligned. Together, they form a system that protects your life from drifting into regret. Not perfectly, not effortlessly, but consistently. And consistency is what turns an ordinary life into a meaningful one. At some point, if you are honest with yourself, you stop asking whether this message is true and start asking whether you are willing to live it. Because by now, you already know what wastes a life. You have felt it. You have lived it in small ways. You have experienced days that disappeared without leaving anything behind. You have experienced weeks where you were busy but not fulfilled. You have experienced that quiet disappointment at night when you realize you avoided what mattered again. And that realization is not meant to shame you. It is meant to wake you up. Because awareness is the beginning of responsibility. And responsibility is the beginning of change. There is a reason so many people feel tired even when they are not doing meaningful work. It is not physical exhaustion. It is internal conflict. It is the fatigue of knowing you are capable of more, but choosing less. Of knowing what you should do, but doing what is easy instead. That gap between who you are and who you know you could be is where energy leaks out of your life. When you close that gap, even partially, something powerful happens. You start to feel lighter, not because life is easier, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. This is why conquering yourself is the foundation of all real success. Not success as the world defines it, but success as you experience it internally. The ability to look at yourself without excuses, the ability to respect your own standards, the ability to move forward without needing constant validation. When you conquer yourself, you stop needing to prove anything to anyone else. You are too busy building a life you can stand behind. Steve Jobs once said that remembering he would one day die was the most important tool he ever used to make big decisions. Because when you truly accept that your time is limited, you stop wanting to live someone else's life. You stop wasting energy on things that do not matter. You stop postponing what is important. Death is not a morbid thought when it wakes you up. It becomes a filter. A question you quietly ask yourself, is this worth my time? Is this worth my life? And when the answer is no, You begin to let go, even when letting go is uncomfortable. Most people live as if they have unlimited tomorrows, as if there will always be more time to get serious, more time to change, more time to try again. But time does not make you ready. It simply passes, and readiness is a decision, not a feeling. You do not wake up one morning suddenly ready to live with discipline. You choose discipline and readiness follows. You do not wake up motivated to persevere. You persevere, and motivation catches up later. Do not waste your life does not mean live in constant pressure. It means live with awareness. Awareness of how you spend your mornings. Awareness of how you use your attention. Awareness of what you avoid. Awareness of what you repeat. Your life is built out of ordinary days, not breakthroughs, not rare moments of inspiration. Ordinary days. And how you live those days decides everything. Kobe Bryant did not become Kobe because he enjoyed pain. He became Kobe because he refused to accept a mediocre version of himself. There were mornings his body was tired. There were days his training was repetitive and boring. There were moments no one saw and no one cared about. But he understood something most people avoid. Life keeps score. Quietly, consistently. And what you do when no one is watching eventually shows up when everyone is. Life works the same way. You cannot cheat it for long. What you avoid today returns tomorrow with interest. What you delay now becomes heavier later. What you choose not to face does not disappear. It waits. And when it comes back, it asks for payment. Discipline pays that debt early. Perseverance keeps paying when it gets uncomfortable. Self-control prevents you from defaulting when emotion tries to take over. This is why success is not an event. It is a lifestyle, a way of showing up, a way of choosing, a way of responding when things are not ideal. The people who live lives they do not regret are not people who never failed. They failed many times. They doubted themselves. They felt lost, but they did not stop. They did not negotiate with their weakest version. They did not trade their future for short-term comfort. There will be days when you do not feel inspired, days when nothing seems to move, days when you question whether the effort is worth it. These days are not a sign to stop. They are the price of building something real. Most people turn back exactly where the difference is about to be made. Not because they cannot continue, but because they expected the path to feel better than it does. The truth is, the path feels heavy before it feels meaningful. At some point, you have to accept a simple truth. No one is coming to save you from a small life. No one will hand you discipline. No one will live your days for you. You can be guided. You can be inspired. You can be supported. But you are the one who must stand up every morning and choose how to live. Maturity begins when you stop blaming circumstances and start taking ownership of your days. People who do not waste their lives are not extraordinary. They are consistent. They are honest with themselves. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They act with what they have where they are. They accept discomfort as part of growth. And they keep going even when progress is quiet. You may not know exactly where you want to go yet. That does not give you permission to stand still. You may not have every answer. That does not excuse unconscious living. The clearest step is not the perfect step. It is the honest one. Honest about where you are. Honest about what you are avoiding. Honest about what needs to change next. And the moment you start choosing honesty over comfort, something shifts. You feel grounded. You feel aligned. You feel less scattered. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you stop running from it. You meet it directly. And that directness gives your life weight. Now slow down for a moment. Not to stop, not to quit, but to listen. After all the intensity, all the stories, all the reminders, what remains is not motivation. Motivation fades. What remains is choice. A quiet choice that only you can make. You can finish listening and return to life exactly as it was. No one will blame you. No one will confront you. Life will allow that. Or you can decide that today marks a subtle shift. Not dramatic, not loud, just more honest, more intentional, more serious about how you live your days. You do not need to change everything at once. You only need to stop wasting what you already have. Stop letting days pass without one action that makes you respect yourself more. Stop postponing the things you know matter. Stop betraying yourself in small ways that slowly add up to a life that feels empty. Start keeping promises to yourself, even small ones, especially small ones, Because trust in yourself is rebuilt the same way it was broken, gradually. Real success is not measured by what you accumulate. It is measured by whether you can look at yourself and know you lived with integrity, that you did not hide from your potential, that you did not trade your future for comfort, that you did not let fear and laziness decide for you. When you can say that, it does not matter how loud the world applauds. You will feel at peace. If some part of you feels uncomfortable right now, that is not a problem. That discomfort is a signal. It means you still care. It means there is still something alive inside you that refuses to settle. That part is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to be honest. Honest about what you are avoiding. Honest about what needs to change. Honest about the fact that your life deserves more attention than you have been giving it. Life does not take everything from you at once. It takes it quietly, day by day, decision by decision. Each time you delay what matters. Each time you choose ease over growth. Each time you tell yourself tomorrow will be different without changing today. And one day, if you are not careful, you look back and realize there was no catastrophe. Just a long stretch of ordinary days that slowly erase the life you could have lived. Do not waste your life is not a call to do something spectacular. It is a call to stop underestimating the power of the ordinary. Because your life is not shaped by rare moments of courage. It is shaped by what you do on boring days. Days with no recognition. Days with no energy. Days when discipline is the only thing that carries you forward. Those days are where your future is decided. Many people believe they have time, that someday, when things settle, when conditions improve, when confidence appears, they will start living seriously. But time does not wait for readiness. It moves whether you move or not. And every day that passes is a piece of your life you do not get back. The tragedy is not that time moves fast. The tragedy is that we often realize its value only after it has passed. Picture a future moment. Not as others see you, but as you see yourself. You ask one simple question: what did I do with this life? And the answer will not be based on intentions or plans. It will be based on habits, on repeated actions, on the way you lived ordinary days. If you do not like the direction that answer is heading today, then today is exactly when you need to change. Conquering yourself is never loud. There are no crowds, no applause, just you and a series of small choices. Do you get up when you said you would? Do you do the hard thing before the easy one? Do you keep your word when no one is watching? Every time you win one of those moments, you reclaim a piece of your life from being wasted. Discipline does not take away freedom. It gives you control. Without discipline, your life is driven by mood, distraction, and circumstance. You act when you feel like it. You stop when it gets uncomfortable. And your life moves in circles. Discipline gives you direction, not speed. Direction. And direction over time changes everything. Perseverance is what keeps you going after most people have left. The most dangerous moment is not the beginning. It is the middle. When effort has been invested, but results are still invisible, that is when doubt appears. That is when comparison starts. That is when quitting feels justified. And that is exactly where perseverance separates lives that grow from lives that stall. Self-control protects everything you build. It keeps one bad day from ruining a good year, one failure from ending a long journey, one emotion from deciding a permanent outcome. People who waste their lives often think they failed because of circumstances. But most of the time, they failed because they let emotions drive too many decisions. No one is coming to rescue you from an unfulfilled life. No one owes you a meaningful future. You are allowed help. You are allowed guidance. But responsibility is not transferable. And the moment you stop waiting and start owning your days is the moment your life begins to feel solid. People who live fully are not fearless. They are disciplined. They are persistent. They are self-controlled. They act even when it is uncomfortable. They continue even when it is slow. And they choose long-term meaning over short-term ease again and again. You may not know exactly where you are going yet, but you know when you are wasting time. You know when you are avoiding. You know when you are compromising. And honesty about those moments is enough to begin. You do not need a perfect plan. You need a real one, built step by step, day by day. And when you start choosing differently, even slightly, you will feel it. Not excitement, stability, not euphoria. Respect for yourself. You begin to trust yourself again, and that trust is the foundation of everything else. So pause here. Ask yourself the question that matters. If I keep living like this, where will my life be in 5 years? And if I start living more intentionally today, even through small disciplined actions, who could I become? No one can answer that for you, but your actions starting today will. You do not need to become someone else overnight. You just need to stop abandoning yourself. Stop ignoring what you know matters. Stop postponing the one life you have. And when you do that consistently, the fear of wasting your life begins to fade, because you know you are no longer drifting. You are choosing. Success is not loud. It is not flashy. It is quiet consistency. It is discipline when no one sees, perseverance when no one applauds, self-control when emotion tries to take over, and when those become part of who you are, success follows naturally. If this message resonated with you, if it stirred something honest inside you, take a moment to act on it. Leave a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel Success Made Simple so we can keep growing together and becoming better versions of ourselves, one day at a time.